And as the nation continues to debate how to solve the illegal immigration crisis, U.S. President Barack Obama is weighing a plan that could give refugee status to Honduran youths. Arise News' Washington correspondent Colin Campbell joins us from our nation's capital with more. Hey, Colin.
How you doing, Debbie? That's right. It was a much-anticipated meeting for the president in Washington today, meeting with the leaders of Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. They were trying to come up with ideas to help stem the flow of immigrants coming into the U.S., but also how to treat immigrants once they've arrived. Some of those ideas were encouraged, others not so much. President Obama met with his counterparts from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Their goal, to find a solution to the surge of child migrants pouring into the United States from Central America.
We have to deter a continuing influx of children putting themselves at great risk and families who are putting their children at great risk.
The president's plan would include the controversial proposal to screen children within Honduras to determine their eligibility for refugee status in the U.S. before they attempt to make the risky trip across the U.S.-Mexico border.
Within a legal framework and a humanitarian framework and proper due process, children who do not have proper claims and families with children who do not have proper claims at some point will be subject to repatriation to their home countries.
But critics warn this move would only increase the influx of immigrant children into the U.S. On Friday, GOP members of Congress huddled behind closed doors on Capitol Hill to come up with an alternative to the president's plan, an approximately $1 billion proposal, less than a third of what President Obama requested to deal with the crisis.
When it came down to doing what we should do, which is sending those children back, securing our border, making some changes to the law to make sure that it's not a returns again, and I think we've got the votes there.
The delegation from the border state of Texas admits that time is running out if action isn't taken before the August recess.
If we leave without addressing what's one of the most critical issues on my constituents' minds, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for me. It's good for Texas, not good for the country.
The White House says that the president could use executive orders if Congress does not approve the plan. It would cost about $47 million, depending on how many children apply and how many are granted entry into the United States. Debbie.
Colin, so what's the likelihood of President Obama using his executive authority to deal with this crisis?
Well, some are championing the move. Of course, those would be those immigration advocates who are looking at the thousands of children who are looking for an entry into the United States, who are trying to escape crime in their home countries. However, there have been a contingent of Texas lawmakers who would like to see the president suspend his use of executive orders, especially when it comes to the deferred action for childhood arrivals, otherwise known as DACA, which was a law from 2012. They're asking because they say that the president's use of executive orders is actually encouraging more children to come to the border and try to gain entry into the United States.
What do you know of the president's plans to deal with the children who are already in the U.S.?
Well, he would like, that's why he's asked for about $3.7 billion in funding. As you heard before, the Republicans only want to offer less than a third of that. The Senate is offering about two-thirds of that. It's really varied right now. It's really hard to determine if any of this will be passed before Congress goes into recess. But the president would like to see a lot of these children go through the proper process before they are either sent back home or if they are given to host families, as stipulated in the 2000 trafficking protection laws for a lot of the children coming into the U.S.
Finally, what can you tell us about how immigrant advocacy groups for children are reacting to today's news?
Well, some of them think that there is some credibility to a lot of what the president is offering and how his meeting panned out with some of the leaders from Central American countries. However, one from the Council on Hemispheric Affairs said that it believes that the cooperation between the United States and Central American countries is essential in trying to create a cogent plan. However, they only believe, or at least this particular group believes, that only cogent cooperation is coming out of the country of Honduras. It doesn't see as much of a commitment to trying to stem the traffic flow of migrants coming from those countries, from Guatemala and El Salvador, into the U.S. as they are seeing from the Honduras.
All right, Colin Campbell reporting for us from Washington. Have a great weekend.
You too, Debbie. See you next week.
All right, see ya. And still to come on Arise America, the latest on the Air Algerie crash on the Mali border, details on the investigation of the remains. And what's in the movies this weekend? A film that critics call a visual spectacle with one of the most intriguing premises in years. Stay with us.